The crystalline chandeliers of the Grand Plaza Hotel reflected off champagne glasses as I stood near the dessert table, watching my family work the room. Christmas dinner had transformed into an impromptu networking event, at least for everyone except me. "Maya's here too," my mother said to a distinguished couple, her voice carrying that particular tone reserved for disappointing relatives. "She does something with computers. Online sales," my sister Priya clarified with a practiced smile, the kind that looked sympathetic but landed like a slap. "You know, one of those little boutique things. Very entrepreneurial." She managed to make the last word sound like a hobby rather than a profession. I took a small bite of chocolate mousse, letting the moment pass. The couple nodded politely before Priya steered them toward more interesting topics, specifically her promotion to senior associate at Morrison & Partners, the city's third-largest law firm. My father, Rajesh Sharma, held court near the bar with his golf buddies from the country club. At 62, he'd spent 35 years building Sharma Industrial Supplies into a respectable mid-sized distributor. Respectable. That word defined everything about our family. Respectable careers. Respectable marriages. Respectable failures, even. My younger brother, Arjun, appeared at my elbow. "You good?" he asked quietly. "Always," I said, meaning it. "Dad's telling the CFO story again." "I glanced over." Sure enough, my father was deep into his favorite narrative about how he'd almost hired me as CFO of his company 5 years ago, before Maya decided to chase this internet thing instead. "Turned down a 6-figure salary," he was saying, shaking his head with exaggerated bewilderment. "Real benefits, real security to sell trinkets on a website. I still don't understand it." The CFO he'd actually hired stood beside him, nodding sympathetically. Nobody mentioned that the offer had been conditional on my giving up any personal business interests and working under my father's direct supervision for at least a decade. Nobody mentioned that his company's revenue had stagnated for 3 straight years while my little online business had. Well, I took another bite of mousse. "You should say something," Arjun muttered. "Why?" I asked genuinely. Would it change anything? He had no answer for that. Priya's laugh cut through the ambient conversation. She'd corralled a group of young professionals near the fireplace, regaling them with stories from her firm. "My sister actually asked me for legal advice about international trademark law last year," she announced. "For her Etsy shop or whatever it is." I had to explain that my practice focuses on corporate mergers, not small business matters. It was actually about multi-jurisdictional intellectual property enforcement across 17 countries, I said mildly, appearing beside the group. "But you're right that it wasn't your area of expertise. The firm I hired specializes in international commerce law." Priya's smile tightened. "Right. Well, when you're ready for real legal work, Morrison handles everything." "I'll keep that in mind," I said pleasantly. One of the young men in the group, probably an associate from her firm, jumped in. "What exactly do you sell?" "I'm always looking for gift ideas." "Luxury goods primarily," I said. "Home decor, artisan pieces, that sort of thing." "Oh, like those subscription boxes?" his companion asked brightly. "My sister does one of those. She makes about $200 a month. It's such a fun hobby." "Something like that," I agreed. Priya was already moving the conversation elsewhere and I didn't stop her. The truth was complicated, and I'd learned years ago that complicated truths sounded like bragging when your family had already decided your narrative. My mother found me as the dinner crowd began thinning. "Maya, dear, Mrs. Chen's daughter is hiring for her marketing department. Entry level, but it's a start. I told her you'd call next week." "That's thoughtful, Mom, but I'm not looking for—" "You can't do this internet thing forever," she interrupted gently, using the tone reserved for coaxing children off jungle gyms. "You're 31. Your sister has a career. Arjun just made junior partner at his accounting firm. Even your father started with nothing and built something real." "I have built something." "A website isn't a company, sweetheart." She patted my hand. "It's time to think about your future. Real stability. Maybe even marriage if you had a proper career to offer." I wanted to tell her about the 73 employees across 4 continents. About the flagship retail location in Soho that had a 3-month waiting list for private shopping appointments. About the manufacturing partnerships with heritage craftsmen in Italy, Japan, and Peru. about the technology platform that had revolutionized how small artisans connected with luxury markets. Instead, I said, "I'll think about it." "That's my girl." She squeezed my hand and drifted away. The evening wound down around 10. My father gathered the family for what he called the Christmas Roundup, an annual tradition where he'd summarize everyone's accomplishments and set expectations for the coming year. "Priya, outstanding work on the Henderson acquisition," he began, raising his scotch. "Your mother and I are incredibly proud. Senior associate before 35, you're on track for partner." Priya beamed. "Arjun, junior partner at Kumar and Associates. Excellent. Though I still think you should consider transitioning to Sharma Industrial's financial management when you're ready for the big leagues." Arjun shifted uncomfortably but nodded. "And Maya?" My father's voice softened into something like concern. "I know you're committed to this online venture, but I think we need to have a serious conversation about your future. You're talented, sweetheart. You have an economics degree from a good school. This hobby has gone on long enough." "It's not a hobby, Dad. Selling products from your apartment isn't a career path," he said firmly. "No pension, no benefits, no growth trajectory. What happens when this trend passes? When the next big thing comes along? You'll be starting from scratch in your mid-30s. I'm not selling from my apartment. Whatever the setup is, it's not sustainable." He glanced at Priya for support. "Your sister could get you an interview at Morrison. Maybe start in their marketing department, work your way up to business development. Real companies, real clients." "I have real clients," I said quietly. "Retail customers aren't the same as corporate clients," Priya interjected. "That's right. You need institutional experience. Professional references. A LinkedIn profile that doesn't say entrepreneur. Everyone knows that's code for unemployed." The family laughed. Gently, affectionately, but they laughed. "I actually have over 12,000 professional connections on LinkedIn," I offered. "Following your shopping page doesn't count as professional networking," Priya said with that sympathetic smile again. My father set down his glass. "Here's what I'm proposing. January 1st, you come work for Sharma Industrial. I'll create a position, e-commerce development director. 45,000 to start, full benefits, and we'll see about building out an online presence for the company. You get real business experience, I get your technical knowledge. Win-win." "Dad, I appreciate the offer, but..." 50,000. Final offer. He said it like he'd just solved my life. My mother clasped her hands together. "Maya, think about it. Working with family, stable income, and you can keep your little website on the side as a hobby. It's not..." I stopped, taking a breath. "It's not a little website. Honey, we've seen it," my mother said gently. "It's very pretty. But pretty websites don't pay mortgages. Actually, I paid off my mortgage 3 years ago." The statement hung in the air for a moment. "Your apartment?" Priya asked. "The studio downtown?" "The brownstone in Heritage District," I corrected. 4 bedrooms. I bought it in 2019. My father frowned. "How exactly did you afford?" "The business is profitable," I said simply. "Profitable enough for a brownstone?" Arjun asked, genuine surprise in his voice. "Among other things." Priya laughed, that practiced dismissive sound. "Maya, come on. Those houses start at 2 million. Unless you married a surgeon we don't know about." "I purchased it outright," I said calmly. "No mortgage." The silence was different now. Confused rather than dismissive. "That's impossible," my father said flatly. "Your little online store couldn't possibly generate that kind of revenue." "It's not a store anymore," I said. "It's a platform. And the revenue last year was substantial." "How substantial?" Priya challenged. I shouldn't have answered. I knew even as I opened my mouth that they wouldn't believe it, that it would sound like fiction or boasting or desperation. 43 million, I said quietly. Before operating expenses. The laughter started immediately. Not cruel but indulgent. The way you'd laugh at a child who claimed to be an astronaut. "Sweetie," my mother said, "you don't have to exaggerate. We love you regardless of how much you make." "I'm not exaggerating." "Maya, I've seen your website," Priya said, pulling out her phone. "It's lovely, but it's basically an online boutique. There's no way you're generating Fortune 500 numbers from selling throw pillows." We don't sell throw pillows, I said. We facilitate connections between artisan manufacturers and luxury consumers across 68 countries. The platform handles everything from authentication to shipping to currency conversion. Right, my father said, his tone making it clear he'd stopped listening. Look, the offer stands until January 15th. After that, you're on your own. I'm not watching my daughter waste her life pretending to run some internet empire. It's not pretend. Enough. He stood, signaling the end of the conversation. It's Christmas. Let's not argue about fantasy businesses. Maya, we love you, but you need to face reality. I stayed seated as they dispersed, each returning to their phones or conversations or drinks. Arjun lingered. You're serious? He asked quietly. About the numbers? Completely. Then why don't you show them? Bank statements, tax returns, something. Would it matter? I asked. They've already decided what's true. He had no answer for that either. The evening ended around midnight. Hugs, promises to see each other before New Year's, the usual choreography of family departure. As I retrieved my coat, my father pulled me aside. I'm hard on you because I care, he said. Your mother and I worry. This online thing feels unstable. We just want you to have what we have, security, respect, a real legacy. I know, Dad. The job offer is genuine. 45,000 and you'd be learning real business operations. I'll think about it, I lied. He hugged me, satisfied that he'd done his parental duty. In the parking lot, Arjun caught up with me. The Global Commerce Awards are next week, he said casually. You going? I stopped walking. How do you know about those? One of my clients is nominated in the finance category. Got an invite. Kind of a big deal, apparently. Kind of, I agreed. You should come. Network, make connections, all that. He paused. Unless you're already going? I might be, I said carefully. He studied my face in the parking lot lights. What category? Does it matter? Why, what category? I should get going, I said, unlocking my car. Merry Christmas, Arjun. Merry Christmas, he said, but his expression was troubled as I drove away. The week between Christmas and New Year's passed in its usual blur. My father called twice about the job offer, each time increasing the salary by 5,000 and decreasing the patience in his voice. My mother texted daily with links to real career opportunities at established companies. Priya sent a long email about the importance of facing reality, wrapped in enough sisterly concern to make it impossible to be angry at. I spent the week the way I spent most weeks, reviewing quarterly projections with my CFO, finalizing an expansion agreement with manufacturers in Portugal, and working with our technology team on a new authentication system for high-value items. The kind of work that looked like checking email when you did it from a coffee shop. On December 31st, my assistant Sarah called. The seating chart for tomorrow night came through. You're at table 1, center stage. Right where they put the keynote speakers. Perfect, I said. Your family still doesn't know? Didn't come up. Maya, you're about to win Global Entrepreneur of the Year. Largest award in international commerce. You don't think that's going to come up? Probably tomorrow night, I admitted. Sarah sighed. You're braver than me. Or crazier. Haven't decided which. Bit of both, probably. The Global Commerce Awards took place annually at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the same venue as Christmas dinner, coincidentally. The ceremony drew 1,500 attendees. CEOs, investors, industry leaders, and media from around the world. Forbes covered it. So did The Economist, Bloomberg, and every major business publication. It was, as Arjun had noted, kind of a big deal. I arrived early before the main crowd, wearing a midnight blue gown that had cost more than my father's first car. The kind of understated elegance that whispered rather than shouted, though what it whispered was worth 7 figures. Ms. Sharma. The event coordinator rushed over. We have you in the green room with the other major award recipients. Can I get you anything? Champagne? Water. Water's perfect, thank you. The green room held perhaps 20 people, all of whom had that particular polish that came with serious success. I recognized about half CEOs I'd met at previous conferences, a venture capitalist who'd tried to invest in my company twice, a technology founder who'd sold her platform for 9 figures. Maya Sharma? A woman in her 50s extended her hand. Catherine Wu, Silicon Valley Ventures. I've been trying to get a meeting with you for 2 years. Your persistence is admirable, I said, shaking her hand. Your returns are remarkable, she countered. 43 million revenue on 22 million in operating costs? And growing at 67% year over year? Those are unicorn numbers. We've been fortunate. Fortunate is winning the lottery. This is strategy. He handed me a card. When you're ready to scale globally, really scale, call me. I can have 200 million in funding on your desk in a week. I appreciate that, I said, pocketing the card. The ceremony began at 7. I took my seat at table 1 as the room filled with industry luminaries and journalists. The production quality rivaled any Hollywood awards show. Multiple cameras, a professional host, elaborate lighting design. At 7:45, as I was making small talk with a CFO from Singapore, I heard a familiar laugh. 3 tables away, my father stood with his golf buddies, all dressed in rented tuxedos. He'd mentioned he got tickets through a client. Apparently that client had good connections. My mother wore her nicest dress, the one reserved for galas and fundraisers. Priya stood beside them in a designer outfit I recognized from her Instagram, Arjun looking uncomfortable in a bow tie. They hadn't seen me yet. Is that your family? The Singapore CFO asked, following my gaze. Yes. Are they here for you? Not exactly. The host took the stage, a polished executive from the International Commerce Council. Welcome to the 42nd Annual Global Commerce Awards. Tonight we celebrate the innovators, disruptors, and leaders who are reshaping how the world does business. My father had spotted someone he knew, a supplier from the enthusiastic handshake, and was deep in conversation. Networking at its finest. We'll begin with our emerging markets category, the host continued, and the ceremony rolled forward. My father's table was loud. Not obnoxiously so, but audibly engaged, the kind of group that laughed at the right moments and applauded enthusiastically. I watched them celebrate a fintech founder from Brazil, a sustainable packaging company from Kenya, a logistics platform from India. Priya took a selfie with the stage in the background. My mother whispered something to my father, who nodded and checked his phone. An hour in, they announced the E-commerce Innovation Award. A platform from Sweden won, and the founder's speech about connecting rural craftspeople with global markets was genuinely moving. I'd actually met her at a conference in Stockholm. We'd compared notes on authentication challenges. My father's group applauded politely, attention already drifting to their phones. The ceremony continued through various categories: supply chain excellence, sustainable business practices, global expansion achievement. Each winner approached the stage to accept a crystal trophy and deliver a 3-minute speech. At 8:30, dinner was served. My table got the VIP treatment. Slightly better wine, slightly faster service. The Singapore CFO was telling me about labor challenges in his manufacturing centers when I saw my mother stand, phone to her ear, and walk toward the lobby. She passed within 10 feet of me. Didn't even glance in my direction. Dessert will be served during the final awards, the host announced. We're now approaching our most prestigious categories, beginning with the Lifetime Achievement Award. A titan of international shipping accepted to a standing ovation. Deservedly, the man had revolutionized freight logistics across 3 continents. Next, we have one of our most competitive categories, the host said. The Global Entrepreneur of the Year Award recognizes an individual who has demonstrated exceptional innovation, sustainable growth, and transformative impact on international commerce. At my father's table, Priya was showing someone something on her phone. Probably case files from work. She lived for these moments, the subtle flecks of professional achievement in social settings. This year's nominees represent the absolute pinnacle of entrepreneurial excellence, the host continued. From blockchain supply chains to sustainable agriculture platforms, from revolutionary manufacturing processes to technology that's changing how we think about global trade. The screens above the stage lit up with nominee profiles. 5 faces, 5 companies, 5 stories of remarkable success. Mine was third from the left. The professional photo was from last year's Fortune feature. The caption read, Maya Sharma, 31, founder NCO, Artisan Global, $43 million revenue, 68 countries, 73 employees. At my father's table, someone had noticed the screen. I watched them squint, lean forward, then tap my father's shoulder while pointing. "Can't be," I read on my father's lips. The selection committee reviewed over 200 applications from 47 countries, the host said. The winner demonstrated not just financial success, but innovation that elevated entire industries and created sustainable opportunities for thousands of artisans and small manufacturers worldwide. My mother had returned from her call, but someone, Arjun I thought, was urgently whispering to her while gesturing at the screen. Her face went pale. This year's Global Entrepreneur of the Year built a platform that generated $43 million in revenue while maintaining profit margins of 47%, all while paying artisan partners an average of 300% above regional wages. Priya had stopped mid-sentence, staring at the screen, then frantically scrolling through her phone, probably searching for my company, verifying what her eyes were telling her. The winner revolutionized authentication technology for artisan goods, created jobs across 68 countries, and did it all while maintaining some of the highest customer satisfaction ratings in luxury e-commerce. My father sat frozen, scotch halfway to his lips, watching my face on the screen above the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the Global Entrepreneur of the Year, Maya Sharma, founder and CEO of Artisan Global. The room erupted in applause. I stood, smoothing my gown, and walked toward the stage as cameras tracked my movement. The walk felt like it took an hour, though it was probably 30 seconds. Behind me at table 17, my family sat in absolute silence. The crystal trophy was heavier than it looked. I positioned myself at the microphone, waiting for the applause to fade. "Thank you," I began. 7 years ago, I turned down a job at my father's company to start what he called selling trinkets on a website. A knowing laugh rippled through the audience. He wasn't entirely wrong. I was selling things online. But I was also building something larger. A platform that could connect incredible craftspeople with customers who valued their work. Who would pay what it was actually worth, not what mass production had taught us to expect. I could see my father's table in the soft stage lights. All of them stared at me like I'd materialized from another dimension. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to every artisan partner who trusted an unknown platform with their life's work. Every employee who believed in the vision when we were just 7 people in a converted warehouse. Every customer who chose quality over convenience. The applause built again, and I raised the trophy slightly. To anyone who's been told their dream is just a hobby, that online businesses aren't real careers, that you should pursue something more respectable, this is for you. Build it anyway. Build it well. Build it with integrity. The results will speak louder than any explanation ever could. I stepped back from the microphone as the applause crescendoed. Camera flashes popped across the room. The host was saying something about the next award, but I wasn't listening anymore. I returned to my seat at table 1 as the ceremony continued. The Singapore CFO gripped my shoulder. "That speech was perfect," he said. "Thank you." "Your family's here?" Catherine Wu asked from across the table. "They are. Are you going to talk to them?" "Eventually," I said. "After dessert." But eventually came sooner than I'd planned. As the final award concluded, something about supply chain transparency, my phone buzzed with a text from Arjun. "We need to talk." "No." "Lobby." I excused myself and found them clustered near the hotel's grand staircase. A tableau of shock and confusion. "Why, my father's voice had lost all its usual certainty. "We had no idea." "I know." 43 million? My mother's eyes were glassy. "You actually meant that?" "At Christmas." "I did. Why didn't you tell us?" Priya demanded, and there it was, beneath the shock, genuine anger. "Why let us think you were running some small-time website?" "I tried," I said calmly. "Multiple times. Christmas dinner I told you the exact revenue figure. You laughed. Because it seemed impossible," my father protested. "It seemed impossible because you'd already decided what was true," I said. "I had a boutique website. I sold trinkets. I needed to get a real job. You built that narrative and nothing I said could compete with it." "You could have shown us evidence," Priya insisted. "Tax returns, articles, something concrete." "Would you have looked?" I asked genuinely. "Or would you have found reasons why it didn't count? The wrong kind of success maybe. Too new, too digital, too unconventional." Silence. This is a lot to process, my mother said weakly. Take your time, I said. I'm not going anywhere. The job offer, my father started then stopped, seeming to realize how absurd it sounded now. $45,000. Was very generous, I finished diplomatically. For what you thought I needed. More silence. I have to get back, I said. There's a reception after the ceremony. Networking, media interviews, the usual. Can we come? Arjun asked quietly. I looked at him, the only one who'd asked questions at Christmas instead of just making assumptions. Of course. It's open to all attendees. The reception filled the hotel's grand ballroom, and my family drifted in like ghosts at their own funeral. I watched them navigate the space, reading the reactions of people who recognized me, who knew my company, who wanted introductions and business cards and conversations. A journalist from Bloomberg approached. Miss Sharma, congratulations on the award. Could I get a quote about your expansion plans for Southeast Asia? We're finalizing partnerships in Thailand and Vietnam, I said. Projected launch in Q3 next year with 15 local artisan cooperatives already signed. Remarkable. And the rumor about an acquisition offer from Amazon. Any truth to that? We've had conversations with several major platforms, I said carefully. But Artisan Global's independence is central to our mission. Our artisan partners trust us because we're not optimizing for pure profit margins. The journalist scribbled notes. Behind her, I could see my mother explaining to someone that I was her daughter, the confusion on her face suggesting she still wasn't entirely sure how that could be true. Catherine Wu appeared at my elbow as the journalist left. The offer stands, she said. 200 million minority stake, you maintain full operational control. Think about it. I will, I promised. My father approached as Catherine departed, though he seemed uncertain whether he was allowed to interrupt. Is that Catherine Wu? He asked. From the venture capital firm? It is. She wants to invest in your company? She does. He absorbed this, visibly recalculating everything he thought he knew. I've been trying to get a meeting with her fund for 3 years. For Sharma Industrial's expansion. I could introduce you, I offered. Though I should mention, she focuses on high-growth technology companies. Industrial supply might not be her sector. The words weren't cruel, but they landed that way. A gentle reversal of every conversation we'd had about real businesses and proper careers. Right, he said. Of course. Priya found me near the bar, having ditched her earlier anger for something more complicated. Perhaps the early stages of understanding. I looked up your company, she said. Forbes did a feature. Fortune ranked you in their 40 under 40. The Wall Street Journal called your platform, the future of ethical luxury commerce. They're very kind, I said. Why didn't you tell me this existed? I could have helped. Corporate legal, trademark protection, partnership agreements. That's exactly what Morrison does. I hired Feldman International, I said. They specialize in cross-border commerce law. Feldman charges $800 an hour. $1,200 actually. But they're worth it. She flinched like I'd struck her. I'm your sister. You're also someone who suggested I run an Etsy shop, I said gently. Who called it a hobby. Who thought international trademark advice was beneath your expertise. That was before I understood the scale. The scale doesn't change what it is, I interrupted. A real business. Real clients. Real impact. Those things were true whether I was making $43 or $43 million. You just needed external validation before you could see it. That's not fair, she said, but her voice wavered. Isn't it? I asked. Tell me, Priya. If I'd come to Christmas dinner and told you I was nominated for this award, would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was delusional? She couldn't answer. The evening wore on. Media interviews, congratulations from industry peers, business cards exchanged with potential partners and collaborators. My family orbited the periphery, processing their revised understanding of reality. Around 11, I found Arjun on the hotel terrace, staring at the city lights. You okay? I asked. I'm not the one whose entire family just publicly discovered they're an idiot, he said. But thanks for asking. I laughed. You're not an idiot. I watched Dad offer you $50,000 to work for him, while you were sitting on a $43 million company. He shook his head. That's going to haunt my nightmares. He didn't know. Because we didn't ask. Because we assumed. He turned to face me. At Christmas when you said those numbers I could have asked for proof. Could have said, really? Show me. But it was easier to laugh. It's done, I said. Is it? He gestured toward the ballroom. Because I think it's just beginning. Dad's going to be impossible. Mom's going to cry. Priya's going to oscillate between pride and resentment for years. And you? I'm going to ask better questions, he said simply. And maybe listen to the answers. We stood in companionable silence for a moment. The award speech was good, he said finally. The part about building it anyway. Meant every word. I know. He smiled. That's what made it perfect. Inside the reception was winding down. My father found me near the coat check looking older than he had that morning. Aya, I owe you an apology, he began. You don't, I said meaning it. You saw what you expected to see. What made sense based on what you knew. I should have known better. Should have asked more questions, taken you seriously. Dad, stop. I touched his arm gently. I'm not angry. I'm not hurt. I built something I'm proud of and I did it my way. That's enough. The job offer was genuinely kind, I finished. You were trying to help. I understand that. 43 million, he said, testing the words. I can't even imagine managing that kind of operation. It's challenging, I admitted. But rewarding. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You did this all yourself? With an excellent team, I corrected. And partners I trust. And artisans who create beautiful work. But yes, I built the foundation. I'm proud of you, he said, and his voice cracked slightly. I should have said that years ago. You can say it now, I said gently. That works too. My mother approached, having clearly worked up courage for this conversation. Maya, sweetheart, I've been thinking about all those job listings I sent you. Mom, it's fine. No, it's not, she insisted. I was dismissing your accomplishments. Treating you like you needed rescue when you were already successful. More successful than any job I could have found. You were being a mom, I said. Worrying about my future. I get it. Will you forgive us, she asked. For not seeing what you'd built? There's nothing to forgive, I said. But maybe going forward we could start with questions instead of assumptions? Questions, she repeated. Yes. That seems wise. The hotel staff was dimming lights. The universal signal that events should conclude. I collected my trophy, surprisingly heavy, surprisingly real, and my coat. My family gathered in the lobby, all of us exhausted in different ways. So, Arjun said, breaking the awkward silence. What happens now? Now. I smiled. Now I go home. Tomorrow I have a board meeting at 9. Tuesday we're finalizing the Portugal expansion. Wednesday, Fortune wants to do a follow-up interview about scaling strategies. Just another week, my father said faintly. Just another week, I agreed. We walked together to the parking garage, our footsteps echoing in the concrete space. Before we separated to our respective cars, Priya stopped me. Next time you need legal advice, she said carefully, even if it's not Morrison's specialty, call me anyway. I'll figure it out or find someone who can. No more assumptions. Deal, I said. And Maya? She hesitated. I really am proud of you. I should have said that at Christmas. You can say it now, I repeated. That works too. I drove home through empty streets, the trophy secure in my passenger seat, the weight of the evening settling into something like peace. My phone buzzed with congratulations from colleagues, interview requests from media, and one text from my assistant Sarah. Saw the live stream. You were perfect. Also your dad's face when they announced your name is my new screensaver. I smiled, typing back. Professional as always, Sarah. I contain multitudes, she replied. My brownstone welcomed me with warm lights I'd left on timers. The 4-bedroom house I'd purchased outright, the one my sister had thought impossible. I placed the trophy on my mantle where it caught the light from the street, all crystal edges and validated success. Tomorrow my father would probably call with questions about my business model. My mother would want to understand the platform technology. Priya would find articles to read, trying to catch up on 7 years of accomplishments she'd missed. But tonight I made tea and sat in my living room, the room that represented everything I'd built. The career they'd called a hobby, the business they'd called pretend, the success they'd thought was fantasy. All of it real. All of it mine. All of it proven not through explanation or argument, but through the simple, undeniable validation of excellence recognized by people who actually understood what I'd built. The house was quiet. The city hummed beyond my windows. And somewhere across town my family was probably still processing the revelation that their daughter, their sister, the one who sold stuff online, had built an empire while they were looking the other way. I sipped my tea and smiled. Sometimes the best response to doubt isn't argument. It's achievement. And achievement, when it comes in the form of a Global Entrepreneur of the Year award, speaks louder than any Christmas dinner conversation ever could.